Welcome to Talks with Tracy, with certified hypnotherapist, life coach, and licensed mental health professional, Tracy Claremont. Tracy will share her healing journey and explore the many meaningful alternative healing methods in our world today that will support you in doing your own deepest emotional healing. So please welcome the host of Talks with Tracy, Tracy Claremont. Let the suffering end and the healing begin.
Hello and welcome to Talks with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to Bold Brave Television Network, as always, for having me. And thank you to everybody out there who listens to my podcast. I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. So today I am going to continue talking about hypnotherapy or hypnosis. Our minds, they hold infinite healing potential, and really most of us barely even begin to tap into the healing potential of our minds. Now, I know, even as a mental health therapist, licensed mental health therapist doing work in the conscious mind day in and day out, I really had no clue as to the infinite healing power that other parts of our brain held until I really started going through my own healing and tapping into those resources myself and embracing those modalities. So, it's just been an amazing learning experience for me. And hypnosis, of course, is one of those amazing healing modalities. Today, I'd really like to answer the question, what are some of the options for healing through hypnosis? And what are the different kinds of hypnosis that can be done? What journeys can we be guided to through hypnosis? And today I have the perfect guest to help me answer these questions. I am so happy to have a very dear friend of mine joining me for this discussion. The amazing Shira Lee Mitchell is here. Now, she is a returning guest and friend of the show, and she is a legit expert on this topic. So I'm so excited to have her here. She's a hypnotist, a spiritual regressionist, a spiritual adventurer. She's an incredible musician, an expert hand analyst, and all of that is like wrapped up into one human. It's quite amazing. So she is doing pioneering work through hypnosis, which I will be asking her about later on in the podcast. And she said just to me just the other day, she said exploring consciousness is the new frontier, and I could not agree with her more. She's guided me in my own exploration of my consciousness, which has been profoundly impactful for me. I'll be sharing that experience, if not today, on another podcast. We have a lot to talk about today. So please join me in welcoming the amazing Shira Lee Mitchell.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, Tracy. How are
Hi. I am doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining me. I just respect and appreciate all that you do so very much. You've taught me so much, and you continue to teach me. I actually have the honor of being one of your little minions, which I'm super thankful for. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that. So, I would love to just start today by talking in general about hypnosis. Um, what it is. You've described it as a process, much like I do, where you guide people um, through an going inward process. Is that how you describe it?
Yeah, so hypnosis to me is again, it's amazing how dimensionally challenged some of us are and how dimensionally
Mm.
proficient some of us are. I was talking to a scholar the other day, and if you could imagine, I mean, for me, this is difficult to imagine, but he had never been on an adventure in his inner self, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Never been on an adventure in his inner self. So he's gone to school and he knows everything about the world, but he's done no exploration on his inside, right? And yeah, hypnosis. One of my favorite teachers is a guy named Eldon Taylor, and he's amazing. He describes, again, we're dealing with the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, or the part of us that's in a limited experience and the part of us that's in a unlimited experience, right? This,
Mm.
like, it is the doorway to our bigger self, and we are having intergalactic travels. Um, we don't have to build a spaceship to go have an intergalactic traveling experience. We are doing that. So, uh, we're in that right now in this human experience. And so, yeah, so with Eldon Taylor, he talks about how the mind, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, it's like a fence, and there's information that's in the conscious mind, and there's information in the unconscious, and it's like when we're in a really time focused experience, of throughout the day of the more beta
Mhm.
brainwave states, what happens is the the net is tight. We're kind of gathering information throughout the day, and then when we go to sleep at night, the net opens and the
Mhm.
birds can fly into the unconscious, and information can communicate back to from the unconscious. It's like a downloading process, right? And
Mhm.
what happens with and dreams, I mean, it's interesting because this goes really in hand with dreams, because often dreams are answering the questions that are in that are the communication that's happening between our unconscious and our conscious mind. And
Mhm.
hypnosis, a lot of people think that it's something that so it's a simply relaxing. When we relax, when we enter into the more relaxed states, when we're watching TV, we're in a relaxed brainwave state. When we're playing video games, when we're spacing out, when we're driving, this is hypnosis, right? And it's that space
Mhm.
right before sleep, that deep delta sleep. And so if we want to use it as a way to travel interdimensionally to the other parts of us, then and to any part in time, any part in the past, or we can skip trains to other places and uh, go to other train stations altogether, right? Um, and but the thing is about it is that it's not as mysterious as everyone makes it out to be. We're used to hearing about stage hypnotists, and stage hypnotists are really good at finding the people that are suggestible. They ask a question, there's somebody there in the audience that, pick me, right? They know how to find these people, and these people are just waiting. They can't wait to cluck like a chicken or bark like a dog. And the thing is that when you're getting hypnosis, you're in complete control over your consciousness. And when
Mhm.
you're coming to a hypnotist, you are coming to a guide who is experienced in traversing this realm, that is just going to hold your hand and assist you on your journey. And we have, as hypnotists, like pre-set destinations and journeys, but again, it's a new frontier. Um, there is so many places. We have no idea how many places we could go when we go into this plane. But when we begin to relax in, and we can start with just even relaxing, right? People that are really mental have a hard time relaxing. And being really mental is a defense mechanism against pain, because that's the distrusting part of ourselves. And when that part becomes super duper duper, it becomes a barrier, and it's pretty much the only barrier to being able to go inside of yourself and go on adventures. And so there comes a place where you need to discipline the mind and let the mind know. Sometimes I talk to it like it's a little puppy and pet it like, oh, sweet little mind, I love you, but you can record and observe where we're going today, but you can't control this process. We're diving into an ocean that is much bigger than you are, right?
Mm.
The conscious
Yes.
mind, it's here to help us have a time-based experience, and it helps us organize our tasks through the day, but it's not meant to answer the big questions about our heart, and much less the big questions about eternity and where we're
Mhm.
from, what it's all about.
Right. And I know that you said, I'll, as we go today, I'm sure I'll be saying many times, you said this and you said that, because I literally am like a little sponge with you. I just like kind of soak up what you say, and I hold on to it. But Um, you said that, oh, geez, now I just lost my thought. Um, One of the things that you've said, oh, I remember, sorry. It's when you're in hypnosis and you're doing this, you're really connecting your brain with your heart, right? You're
Yeah,
making a connection, or
yeah,
going into your heart, maybe would be better said.
yeah. It's almost like you're taking your body and you're going through your mind next, and then you're diving into your heart, and then you're attending to anything, right? If it's like if you were to if you're again, if your mother just died and you're going through a divorce and you're in a battery situation, had a battered wife and you're working 3 jobs and you have 8 kids, like there's no way that we're going to be spending a lot of time in the heart, or maybe not even getting down to it, because there's too many feelings for you to unpack in that moment, right? Because our brain is set up to help us to survive, and so we put
Mhm.
aside the feelings, put aside the emotions, and those are something that we can unpack and process, and thank God we can do that, right? That we can
Yes.
process things later. Now some people have a really hard time, like they have to process now, they have to be with their feelings now, and they can't put them away, but we're all wired up so differently. And yeah, so people can't.
Well, and can I interrupt
Yeah,
just for a minute? I think that's why, when you're talking about, our brains are, wired to help us survive. I think that's also why we can be in, like, kind of autopilot. We're dealing with all those things, like all those things in our life and everything. And then when we get to a place where we feel safe and comfortable and can let go, then a lot of emotion comes. This happened. It's actually happening kind of as we speak now, where, on the other side of my, kids' family, they lost a loved one, a young loved one. And my daughter was up with that side of the family. And then she came home yesterday. And as soon as she kind of got with me and at home, all of the emotion came. And she was like, I didn't even cry when I was up there. None of us did. And I was trying to explain to her that's what our brains do to survive. And then once we are safe and comfortable, we let go, and that emotion can come out. Or even in therapy, people do that, right? The
yeah.
therapeutic environment is meant to be a safe environment to really let out that emotion.
Yeah, well, we have to have safety to feel our emotions. And you
Right.
can look at, like even just in our evolution as a species, right? The fact that we have all this emotion that's been born in this rough, wild planet is a miracle, because it's like we've had to have protection and enough safety to even develop those finer tuned skills, right?
Mm.
And so it's a really beautiful thing. But yeah, so with hypnosis, again, this is going inside of yourself and journeying to know and understand, and like, because we don't just have feelings we haven't processed from this time, we have feelings we haven't processed from other times. We have big soul experiences that we're processing, right? So there's all this processing that's going on different layers and in different layers. So opening up the portal to go on adventures, we have to attend to the emotions. So sometimes you find people need to work on their behavioral stuff from this life, right? Like the things that happened in their childhood and the places that they abandoned themselves. And
Mhm.
um, I was with, one client, and I'm going to change the story just a little bit, but um, her 18-year-old self had made some decisions that she wasn't so happy with later in her life. And for us to
Mm.
go further, she's got to attend to and open the doorway to love that part of herself again, right? And
Mm.
to say, like, you didn't know you made this decision, and you didn't know, right, that this was going to go this
Absolutely.
way.
And you're talking about that when you say love yourself, you're talking about that process of integrating our experiences, like holding those experiences at the same time loving and accepting ourselves, which is like integrating and creating balance and congruence in our brains. And there's different ways to do that, but hypnosis is one of those. And if we can achieve that balance, then we don't have the issue, the emotional impact, energy flowing within us that holds us, like keeps us stuck and in that emotion. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I would say there's hypnotists that do like, letting go of your blocks kind of work. There's hypnotists that do work that helps you to change your behaviors. You have this fear of heights or this fear of crowds, and they can work on the timeline to help you process the source of that. And I guess how we have adventured into other places is sometimes just gets easier to say, well, let's go to the source of this. So when we ask to go to the source, sometimes people go to past lives, and sometimes they
Mm,
go to the spirit world. And so this is how we've learned how to explore this frontier, because we're just trying to help people heal and be whole
mm,
people and have all of their neural pathways firing and feel good about life. And that process leads us on this journey, has led us into so many different doors, but it's all the same magic carpet ride, right? Like inside yourself, you can go visit your childhood memories, your enjoyable ones, your not so enjoyable ones. You can go visit. It's almost like we don't remember everything, but there's a part of us that does, right?
mm.
And especially how we felt about that, right? And
Right.
we can go visit in utero. Some of our problems are like, man, this brain is really hard for me to work with as a soul, right? And you
Mm,
can sense that and
right.
say, okay, well, what can I do to support my brain? I can take more, MCT oils and get more fat and um like set limits with this brain, right? Like there's, because the brain isn't meant to run all of humanity, like everyone would have us believe with these alternate online worlds that they're creating, right? It's just
I love that. I love how you describe it as like a magic carpet ride, because it really does feel like that at times. And I love how you're talking about lots of different forms of hypnosis and ways to use it. So it's already time to take a commercial break, a brief commercial break. But when we come back, I'd love to talk more about um, exactly what you're talking about now, and we can get into some of the parts of us that hypnosis can help balance, and also talk about past life regression and the spiritual regression stuff. There's so much to talk about, but right now we need to take a commercial break. So you're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on Bold Brave Television Network. I am here with the beautiful Shirley Mitchell. Oh my gosh, Shirley, I really think you are so amazing. I love talking to you, and I literally could talk to you for hours. I actually have talked to you for hours on more than one occasion. So we were talking about hypnosis and how it can be so helpful for us. I wanted to just start this segment by talking a little bit about how hypnosis can help us to bring balance to our being, ourselves, our inner experience. And it can help us, a lot of times we have life experiences in this lifetime um, where it causes us to kind of get stuck in our emotion. And then when we have that place where we're stuck, we're not balanced and things are not integrating in our minds to a place where we can have that experience and still love and accept ourselves. So I know hypnosis, I know you talk about different parts of our selves, our inner workings, and um, how hypnosis can help bring balance to that. Can you talk a little bit about those parts that hypnosis can help bring balance to?
Yeah, so hypnosis is a tool, right? And as a healer, I have lots of tools, and there's lots of tools out
Oh
there,
my
right?
gosh, you do.
We've heard of EFT, and we've heard of tapping, is part of like the EFT, and then we've got like my brain,
EMDR.
EMDR. We've got
Mhm.
all kinds of things to help us deal with our anxieties and our fears and our phobias and all kinds of things. We have talk therapy. We have friends, support networks, partners,
Mhm.
all those things to help us through life. And with hypnosis, there's a lot of things that you can heal. Again, you can do parts therapy. Parts therapy is very interesting because you can essentially go and attend to a part that is having a problem, right?
Mhm.
Like one example is let's say that there's someone that's 350 pounds, right? And they're having a hard time walking. They're having a hard time going to the bathroom, doing just about anything in life because they're having a situation. And if we were to go into the magic carpet ride and say, okay, we're going to just adventure and figure out where this started, where the problem is. Again, I believe that the now is always the place to heal everything, right? We've got to bring everything into the now and into the focus. They're into the moment. Like the moment is like this magic pot where we can bring any part, put it inside, bring presence and love and healing and support. Because, to heal anything, we just need to be witnessed. We need to be held, and then we can get over it, right? We can get over
Oh,
it.
I love that. Yes, we need to be witnessed. We need to be heard. We need
Yep,
to have a
heard.
feeling that we're understood. You
Yeah,
know,
and we
I,
first have
I,
to
I'll
listen to
go ahead.
ourselves,
No,
right? We
yes.
first have to listen to ourselves before anyone else can hear us sometimes, and
Mhm.
we can feel
Mhm.
that. And so hypnosis is the process of listening to ourselves. And so
Oh,
and
I like that.
what's interesting is that most people believe that they're making stuff up, right? Like because we're
Mm.
entering into the world of imagination. Okay? We're
Mhm.
entering into our magic interdimensional portal, and we're going, but people will say, well, like they're looking at their sheets on their bed when they're a little baby, and they're describing the sheets. Now, could we go back and find those exact sheets in their experience? Maybe. I don't know. But regardless, we're with a human being, they're having a problem. We trust that they know, and that's the thing about it is that most people know when they're coming in, exactly why they're coming in. They've been being prepared in their own selves for a journey to face something within themselves, to attend to something in themselves. And as hypnotists, that's all we're doing is holding the space for that, right?
Right, and so they do know, but they may not have that awareness, the conscious awareness that they know. So, I mean, this is kind of hard to explain, but I've had this experience where I have been given little glimpses of something where I've thought, oh, like it's an image or a thought that I've had, and I've thought, I don't know what that is, but as I do my healing and I go inward, then it reveals itself more. And I have seen that I've been given these little hints or like, hey, look at me moments that I wasn't aware of. And I actually, I believe I shared this with you too, but I was, I had a client who I was going to do hypnotherapy with and work on a specific issue with. And he had said that he had a sense that his issue came from a past life and he'd never done hypnosis before. And he said, I don't even know what past lives are. I just have a sense. So he'd been given little clues. And I said, well, let's start with hypnotherapy first, and then we can do past life regression later. And then when we went into the session, he was ready to go straight into a past life experience. So he knew deep inside that that's where he needed to go, even though he really couldn't like articulate it or put it into words. And then when we were going to do hypnotherapy and work on an issue, we went straight into a past life regression the very first time because that's where he was being
Yeah.
led, and that's where so he knew without knowing consciously.
Yeah, and that's really the language of spirit, right? If we look at even the most powerful experiences spiritually that we can have, go do ayahuasca or anything like that, right? And it knocks out all the other senses. Like we're separated from just the comfort of our physical, and our mental thoughts are far away from us, right? And we're just in this really intense spiritual experience. Some of us have to go to that level of to open up. But the way that spiritual communicates is in these little nudges and in these little knowings, and it's very, very personal. And as hypnotists, we can try to control someone and lead them in a direction, but the truth is they're going to
Right.
go where they're ready to go, and there is a bigger part that's leading them to your office, right? And
Yes, absolutely. And I was really thankful. It was a learning experience with this person. It was a real learning experience for me because I reflected back and I realized that it was actually me who was trying to uh, direct the process into a place where I was more comfortable then because I was like, wow, he's never been hypnotized before. We probably shouldn't like start off right off the bat with a big past life experience, right? So I was like, well, let's do this. And I was leading instead of letting the process unfold, which it unfolded anyway, and but it was a great lesson to me to respect and honor what somebody comes with and to know that they know.
yeah, so the spiritual saves time. It's much wiser, it's much more big picture. But, our
Mhm.
training is that we start with this, and then we go to that, and then we do this
Right.
and that. It's like, jump off, we climb the ladder, then we jump off the diving board, we do this and that. This is, we've set these structures to try to navigate this realm that is full of pure magic, right? I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever watched the movie of Dr. Parnassus, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Mm.
It's a movie that Heath Ledger starred in when he died. He was in the middle of making that movie,
Oh, wow.
and his friends loved him so much they came and finished it off at the end. And yeah, with that, it's like this imaginarium. It's like this man that's really spiritual, that has the ability to reflect back to people, and they go in and they basically have this interactive experience in his mind, and his advanced spiritual state is like allowing it to happen, right? Where the
Mm.
person is getting to face the big demons of their soul and the glories of their soul, right? And so it's kind of an interesting movie, but that's a little bit what hypnosis is like, but it's really not scary at all. I mean, if you have watched TV and gone into a hypnotic state and just been hypnotized by all the things that are going on the TV. You've done it before. We've all done hypnosis before. And and essentially each time we go into this realm, we get better and better at navigating. And
Mhm.
like we have four, one of the areas that I'm really kind of specializing in is, and this has just been my own work that has been coming forward, is dimensional intelligence, right? um, the, the 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 idea of dimensional intelligence, because if you can imagine, all of our society is broken down into four basic dimensions. Our Every human being comes with a base model of four basic dimensions that are firing all at once, right? And they each have different needs and different rules. I mean, we've all heard people say, what doesn't hurt you makes you stronger. And that's really great for the physical realm, right? We have a physical body. That's good advice for the physical body. But when we take it to the emotional realm, it doesn't work. It actually, the things that hurt us don't make us stronger. They're they're hurting us. We have a P in our um, Princess and the Pea place, right? Like under the mattress, and it's hurting. And we've got this pearl that's being developed, right? And certainly, it's amazing. But so the dimensions have different rules. They have different needs, and so like if you look at hypnosis, you've got a physical body that exists, right? I exist. And then when we're
Mhm.
speaking from our mind, we talk, and I think, right? And we
Mhm.
can tell because people are very heady up here, and they're wrinkling they're using their head a lot. And when people sink down into their heart, and a lot of hypnotists, this is all the work that they do, is trying to get people to their heart where they can feel their feelings and process them in the moment, right? And hold space for themselves. And if they've
Mhm.
done that, they've done their work and they send you off, right? I went to one of
Mhm.
the first hypnotists I went to. He's like, "You readily feel your emotions, and so you don't need me, you know? Like it can surface and bubble up from the depths, and I can deal with it. I can attend to it." So we have an emotional self. And then when we sink down further, we have and get into the deeper states of our consciousness, then we have access to the parts of us that are beyond this place and time. And these are the four dimensions of self. Now, the fourth one you could also say is the creative self, right? Which is full of
Mm.
imagination, which is spiritual. That's the language it speaks. It's not going to speak
Right.
logic. It's not going to speak.
Right.
uh,
So the four dimensions would be physical, mental, emotional, and then spiritual or
creative,
creative. And
creative.
when you say spiritual, the language of the spiritual is imagination. You're not. A lot of times, people hear the word imagination and they think making it up, right? They think
Mhm.
that you're, or even creativity. They think you're making something up that's not real. But that's not what you mean by imagination
Well,
used in
I think
this.
I think it is like I don't believe that we're making it up, but imagination is required. The language that's going to come speak to you in is going to be all this abstract stuff, and the goo that's in the middle of that, the substance that's in the middle of that is the true thing, right? And yet, it takes on, like why would I choose to be a physician in the 18th century pulling a cart around with all of my apothecary in the back? Why on earth did my soul choose this manifestation to come and communicate to me with, right? Because and the thing is that you'll find that when you go into the place of the soul, there are emotions that match. Like there's 100 people who think that they were Marie Antoinette in a past life, but the real Marie Antoinette has all of the pain from that life. She has all of the
Mhm.
experience and the memories and all of that contained in her, right? But sometimes people that were close to her, that it will come and present itself as that time period, and they'll see her and they'll be like, "Oh, I was her." Right? But maybe they were her handmaiden, maybe they were her subject, maybe they were the one who chopped her head off, right? So, so again, this is
So this leads us right into a discussion of past life regression and how our past life experiences impact us. And it's time to take a commercial break. But when we come back, I'd love to talk about that and then go into also that work in the soul and the oversoul. So
okay.
hold that thought.
Okay.
You're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. We'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy with me and the beautiful Shirley Mitchell. We're talking about some pretty amazing things here. Love the concept of a magic carpet ride. And, we were just talking about the richness, or I'd like to talk about the richness of past life experiences. And I just wanted to revisit that understanding of when you go into this spiritual realm, that it's a language of imagination. And I know you described it to me once as being like a hologram that is inspirational and brings forth whatever is needed. And I love that imagery. But I still, once again, want to drive the point home that that when we say imagination or creativity, it doesn't mean that it's not real and we're making it up. Because I have heard people say, oh, past life regression isn't a thing. People are just remembering a movie that they saw, or they're remembering a book that they read. And when you have the experience, um, it's hard to describe because it's such a rich experience, and you have all of this knowledge of another lifetime and another place, um, that I would say, even if you read a whole book that was set in that time and that age, it's not what you bring forth in a past life experience. And maybe I'm not explaining that very well, but maybe you can help with
Yeah,
that
well,
explanation.
I do think that to really truly understand all of that, you've got to understand the big picture. And we're going to kind of go into that a
Okay.
little bit. And hopefully the next time that we meet, Tracy, we're going to be
Yes.
talking about that bigger picture and what it is all about. Because, it's like taken out of context, right? Now we have
Hmm.
4 dimensions. The physical self is there and it exists and it's beautiful and it's an animal. And we have a mental self that helps us steer and be conscious on this plane. And I believe that for the soul, that there is like an open room where the soul is learning through all mind experiences, right? All understandings that are being brought forward. We have and the intelligence. I mean, the the body is instinctual and it's slow and it's a little bit dense, right? It's so if you can understand that a good portion of our population is dominant in that, and that's all that exists to them. So if you're asking them real in imagination, they think that even all the things that people do in school are full of imagination and not necessary, right?
Hmm.
All of the,
So
you
these
go
are
to
people in
the
their physical,
in
like
the
more focused in the physical? Okay.
physically dominant people, they are
Okay.
tuned 100% like an animal to the instincts of this reality. And then we have people that are in their mind and exploring thoughts and ideas, right? And they've built hierarchies and they think those hierarchies are true, but some of them aren't.
Mental.
Sometimes there's a cornerstone in the hierarchy that's totally off. And it's pretty dangerous from that perspective, right? And then we have an emotional self, and our emotional self, it tells us our truth of the moment, but it also can mislead us into years of bitterness and all kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we learn how to
Mm-hmm.
clean out those buckets. But the thing about the soul is that the soul is open for the emotions. A lot of the emotions you're experiencing in your life, the deep and heavy ones, are ones that you're experiencing in other lifetimes. And if you really understand the big picture of the soul, the oversoul, especially to the oversoul, it's all happening at once. And so that's how it's open. That's how it's open because it's all the same being. And so when you're looking at past life regression, you're looking at the soul's journey on this plane of existence. Now, I would guess that most souls have about 500 lives here. That's my own estimation. A lot of people would disagree with me. A lot of people think that we're having each and every experience possible in multiple dimensions, and I would say baloney. Right? That's my experience anyway, from what I've seen, because we are personality, and in the great oneness of all we are, what we're looking for through these experiences is our personality. And so your true personality is formed through all of your lifetimes, right? It is the manifestation of your personality coming forward. And so you're almost like unlocking skills in each lifetime and understandings, and you're building upon it. And there will be a lifetime when you come in and you heal all of your past lifetimes. They'll all be open to you, right? But the spiritual brings forward to you what is needed in the moment. And this is what's so beautiful about hypnosis, is it's like a holodeck where we can go in and show up, and we can have good intentions, and we can call out to our bigger self and say, I'm confused, I'm hurting, I'm having a hard time, please help me, right? And what happens is that the soul, the oversoul, has been waiting outside of time for us to answer, for us to call out, so that it, because it's like it can't wait to share with us, it can't wait to show us all, right? But we've got to be willing to come and show up. And so it's going to take us on baby steps sometimes. But like, we don't know a soul's experience when they come into our office, right? Maybe they are more mature in the the what's happening, right? And they're open to deeper levels. And so we have to be open and willing to move with that. So with past life regression, what I've experienced, and I used to be a girl that laughed. I thought, well, what good is past life? Like, even if you knew, you're just having this life. So what on earth? And because I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in past lives. And I've come to change my tune a lot because, it actually is affecting, right? Like, in your relationship, okay, like maybe you're jealous and insecure with this partner, right? But you don't know if you've been with that partner, 80 times before, and they've cheated on you in every life, and that's your stipulation with them, right? You don't, like, there's a lot that is going on, and who you really are is the person that gets off the stage, right? But we come in, there's a stage, there's a costume, there's a time period, our personality, our
And you're
name.
talking about like we come into this lifetime,
Yeah, this
like as
lifetime.
though we're in a play. So we come into this lifetime, our soul comes into this lifetime, puts on this character, and for this purpose, does the stage show,
The
and
stage, yeah,
and then
and
at the end of the lifetime takes off that.
yeah, well, it's more like the higher self is the intermediary. It's the built-in parent that comes in with you. And when you die, that your all of your information that you gathered is uploaded to Oversoul. You return and reintegrate with Oversoul, and part of you goes back through the cycle, right? Until that cycle is done. And so it's
Right.
really
So
quite,
you described, excuse me, you described like on this play analogy. I like analogies because it kind of simplifies things. So with the play analogy that you've used with me before, we come into this lifetime, we put on our character, this person that we're going to play in this play, the role we're going to play in this play. We play that role. If there's difficulties with the storyline, we can get help with that, right? Through hypnosis or other things. But we play this role, and then at the end of our lifetime, it's like the person in the play goes back home,
yeah.
goes back home, and is no longer in their play. They go back home, returning to that other realm.
Yeah, so there's a lot bigger because there's a spirit world that is like a hub where we come back and forth, where we basically our consciousness, we would say the soul carries forward, and that soul is going through an experience in the 500 or so lifetimes, right? And there's different graduation levels and lifetimes. We all have atheist lifetimes. We all have lifetimes of being fanatical preachers and things like that, right? Where we're putting our beliefs on other people. We have lifetimes of power tripping. And the things you really want to watch out for in lifetimes is when you've held promises, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the things that you're holding from lifetime to lifetime, those things are the things that often need to be let go of, right? Or kept, right?
Can you give an example of a past life regression experience that either you've had or you've had with other people, something like that, to kind of demonstrate what you're talking about, um, where a past life comes forth as needed for some particular reason, for some particular healing?
Yeah, so this young man came to me. I was doing readings at a high school graduation to entertain the kids so they don't get in accidents and stuff. And so he came in and he got a hand reading, and then he wanted to do a past life regression. And he knew what he was doing. He came in, and he was actually going into therapy in this life, and in the past life he visited, and I don't know if it was the direct one past. He was actually a thief. So what was he really good at in this life? Because this is one of the things that I take people to. He was a good pickpocket. He knew how to pick a pocket. Um, he was Caucasian in this life. In that life, he was a black man, and he was a thief. And he, there was all these pivotal moments he visited. His daughter's wedding and the shame that he felt about being a thief at her wedding, and that he didn't couldn't give her the life, and all of those different things that he did. And he was in prison a lot. And so, he made a promise in that life that he would never steal again. That was the conclusion that he came to, is that wasn't the way for him. And I asked him, do you want to keep this promise as you're moving forward, this soul promise? Because the soul can set something down in the sand, and it stands from lifetime to lifetime. And so he did. And he said he wanted to keep it. He never wants to go back to that thieving way, even though he's so good at it and he's got all these neural pathways. So the soul is redirecting. It's opened up this area, and then it's redirecting. And so we all have, for some souls, their life experience is about learning to leave what's ordinary, right? What's given to them, to strike out on their own. One story that I've read, this was just a one that I read, was about a gentleman that was on a farm, and he had a girlfriend, and he was attached physically to her, and all these different things. He had all this attachment into this life, and his soul's plan was to let go of it and strike out on his own. Now, someone else that has problems attaching lifetime after lifetime, they may have a lifetime where they're learning how to stay, They're learning how to stay through all of these difficulties in relationship and in family and in community. So we're all having different lessons that are going on. And so the right or
Right.
wrong thing isn't really applicable because it's all, the only one that holds anything is the soul. So like in my soul, I was one of the souls that was really instrumental in separating church and state. I was an attorney that pitched it to the courts, right? And in that life, my name was John, and I had a sister named Elizabeth, who's my mother now, right? And she was like a fashion person, and I was a solicitor that wore the little wigs, right? And went before the court, and this was in London. And the thing that was difficult for me in that life was loving, but so there's so many connections. Like my father from that life that hurt me was my boss in this life. And he like, it was so weird the way he trusted me and gave me the keys to his kingdom because like again, he trusted me like a father trusts a son, right? And so all of these relationships, like, to pull back the curtain of all of these, that explains all of these relationships that we have, these complex relationships. um like in that life, we had kind of a Tiny Tim situation, right? My father was very wealthy, he was a landowner, and we had rentals, and I had a buddy friend who was my husband in this life, right? And we kicked his family out, and he had a disabled brother in to the cold because we wanted more money, right? Like there's stuff that's tied there, and it explains the complexity of our feelings. And there's nothing else that can explain the complexity of the micro dimensions in our inner planes. And it is very applicable. I mean, people have pain from past lives. They have phobias from past lives. And this is how we found this out as we started following. One woman had pain in her shins. Turns out she was run over by a carriage in a past life. And she needed to remember why, because she was developing her intellect and not being this, like, because souls will spend times being really physical and then they change gears, and then they're like becoming very intellectual. So why did this happen to me? Oh, why did this happen to me? Your soul chose it. So because you had wealthy parents who would educate you, and you couldn't walk around and do anything else, right? Because you're just a soul who likes to walk around and do everything else except for learn, right? So the soul is kind of molding us like a master potter, lifetime after lifetime, into this grand work of art. And it's really beautiful to see what the soul does over time.
And so, so in the example of the woman who was run over by a carriage, uh, is that? And again, we've spent so much time visiting. I'm just trying to remember different stories. Is that where she had phantom pain that she
Yep.
came to
Yep.
hypnosis for? Like that was the issue that where doctors couldn't figure out why she had a pain in her legs,
Yeah.
or was that it?
She couldn't. She had this pain that was just excruciating in her calf areas, right? Like in her shins. And no explanation, no test could explain anything that was going on. Like even with me, I have this pain on my left side that has been there. And you find that often it's the age you were at the lifetime that happened, that that things will be activated, right? If you were 27 when you got stabbed, it'll be activated when you're at 27. You'll find that this is, like a woman that had problems with her ankles. She was 12. She was a slave. She got away. She got caught in a trap. It decimated her ankle. And at 12, she had a severe accident that injured her ankle, that reopened that wound for her to heal, right? So again, that, like, it goes together with our body pains, it goes together with our relationship pains. And you see souls that are traveling lifetime after lifetime together. And the thing that is so amazing is how beautiful the spirit world is, how beautiful the plan is. And when I speak of imagination, if we were to get all of a bunch of kindergartners together, they would do a lot better job of explaining what's actually happening in eternity than our best spiritual people and scholars, right? Because they don't have the imagination to receive what is bigger, right? They don't have the framework and the neural pathways to receive the bigger picture. So
Hmm.
when we're talking about, like, if we were to do a contest today and say, I want you to come up with the most imaginative story about what eternity is and why we're here and what it's all about, every story we could come up with would absolutely pale in comparison to what is true.
Hmm. Beautiful. So I am I we haven't touched on the um, talking about the oversoul a whole lot, and we're just touching on this past life regression stuff. I believe it's time to cut to a commercial break, although I haven't seen the cue from our engineer. But we're almost out of time for the show. I'm really wondering if maybe we should just continue on with our segment rather than breaking for a commercial, and maybe our engineer can let me know that. But I think what I'd like to do right now, rather than breaking to a commercial, I would like for us just to close up our show today, and uh, I really hope that you would be able to come back on and talk more about it. It feels like, it's like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to all of this. Oh, there's my cue for from the engineer. So I would love to, rather than cut to a final last segment, because I see that it's almost 10 o'clock, I would love for us to just wrap up with you saying, like, maybe just run down a list of the things that you do with people, and like what people could reach out to you for, because you do so many different things, right? And also how we could watch your show. I know you have a YouTube channel that where you do shows as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've kind of taken a little sabbatical from that. I do have some lives that I was
Oh,
doing. I
okay.
was doing Miracle Sunday. I'm taking a sabbatical right now because I'm refocusing, like my efforts as far as where I'm going and how I'm getting my messages out into the world. And yeah, so I am a master hand analyst, and again, this is the study.
Mhm.
It's kind of the same study, but um, the study of personality and life purpose. So I've been studying all of the personalities that humans have, and all of the life purposes, and all of the challenges, and
Mm.
all of the strengths, and the
Right, and it's
giftings
all
as
in
well.
our hands, right?
It's all in our hands. And so,
It's
and if
amazing.
you were to understand that the way I'm wired up in this lifetime is to be a big picture person. So I understand how the big picture works. That's where how I approach things. And so with the big picture, and I've been being taught, by oversoul. So I was doing life in between life regression, and all of the sudden these oversouls came to me and they started taking me on adventures. And it's been a really amazing ride where they've taken me to introduce lots of
Mm.
different things about how the world works. And yeah, so you can work with me by booking a hand reading. I send out print kits over
Mhm.
the internet or over through the mail, and then we meet and do a hand reading. So this is like a look at your life currently and all of the things that you've turned on in your neurobiology. I also have I do regressions, and so we can do any kind of this life healing
Mm.
work. We can also go into past life, and then we can also go into spirit world work, or we can take another turn and go into oversoul work. So,
Mm.
oversoul work, if you were to imagine, you are not only having this level of intelligence that you're from, is not having experience on this planet or many experiences on this planet, but on trillions of inhabited worlds. And this level of intelligence knows all for you. So, meeting this part of you is life changing. And so I took Tracy not too long ago to meet
Yes.
this part of her.
Yes, and it was absolutely impactful, hugely impactful, and kind of mind blowing. Like, whoa, overwhelming. So, how do they actually reach you?
Yeah, so they can reach me on Facebook, Shira Lee Markland Mitchell. You can also follow my page, Shira Lee. I'm a musician as well, and that's where I post a lot of stuff about that. And you can also just reach out to me at shiralee@me.com. So that's my email.
Beautiful. Yay. So I would love to have you back next week to unpack more about the spiritual regressionist work you do and some of the how that also you are intuitive and how that plays into things. So I'd love to welcome you back next week, invite
Okay.
you back next week. That would be amazing. So yeah, it's a date. We will do that next week. Time to go now. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love talking to you, and I hope everybody else has enjoyed it as much as I have.
Thank you,
So
Tracy.
thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so you've been watching Talks with Tracy with me, Tracy Claremont. We'll be back here again next week, so please join me for that. I'll see you then.
This has been Talks with Tracy. Join us each week as Tracy and her guests will come together and realize that underneath it all, we are all the same and never alone. So join us each week and let Talks with Tracy be your safe place to land in your healing journey. Right here, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV.